Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into a really intense moment in Dutch history. The 1975 hostage crises. It was this shocking series of events that really forced the Netherlands to grapple with its colonial past.
Yeah, and the so-called debt of honor that underpinned it all.
Exactly. So let's set the scene. It starts December 2nd, 1975, near a place called Worcester. A train journey violently interrupted.
Right, at 10:07 a.m., the train just stops violently.
And the way the hijackers came aboard, it was chilling. They had weapons, but they were hidden as Sinterklaas presents, the Dutch holiday figure.
A really stark symbolic beginning. And they weren't messing around. The train driver, Hans Brom, was shot and killed almost immediately.
Instantly set this grim, non-negotiable tone, just absolute terror from the start.
And it wasn't random. These perpetrators, they were young South Moluccans. Their demand: recognition for the Independent Republic Maluku Selatan, or RMS.
So this act of violence, it wasn't out of the blue. It had deep roots, right? Something about a long alliance.
Deep roots, yeah. A 350-year military alliance with the Dutch, actually. And what they saw as a profound betrayal at the end of it.
Okay, let's unpack that. Who were these Moluccans in the context of the Dutch Empire?
Well, they were arguably the Netherlands' most loyal allies in the East Indies, the Spice Islands.
Mm-hmm.
For generations, they formed the backbone, the elite soldiers of the KNIL.
The Royal Netherlands East Indies Army.
Exactly. They were indispensable. And crucially, military service was their identity. They were often quite separate culturally, even from the Dutch military itself, making them really dependent on the crown.
So this incredible loyalty, which was their strength for centuries,
became their biggest weakness after Indonesian independence in 1949.
Ah, okay. Because they were seen as collaborators by the new Indonesian state.
Precisely. Their loyalty to the Dutch basically made them enemies in their own homeland. So in 1951, around 4,000 soldiers, plus their families, about 12,500 people total, were offered transport to the Netherlands.
On a temporary basis, I understand?
Supposedly temporary, yes. And often based on this, pretty crucial promise, however vague, that the Dutch government would help them eventually get back to an independent Moluccan state.
But that's not what happened when they arrived in the Netherlands.
Not at all. It was a shock. They were summarily discharged from the army, stripped of their military status, their income, everything.
Oh, wow.
And then housed in segregated camps, isolated, sometimes even former Nazi camps like Westerbork. Think about that.
That's incredibly harsh, a total erasure of their identity and service.
It created this deep collective trauma, political abandonment, social isolation, symbolic humiliation, all rolled into one. And that feeling, that narrative of betrayal, it was passed down very powerfully to the next generation.
The generation that grew up in those camps in isolation.
Yes. And their anger, their radicalism was pointed squarely at the Dutch state. They held the Netherlands directly responsible for breaking that debt of honor.
Which then explodes in 1975. And it wasn't just one incident, was it?
No, it was coordinated. You had the train siege near Worcester, which went on for 12 days. And simultaneously, a siege at the Indonesian consulate in Amsterdam. That lasted 18 days and horrifyingly involved 16 children as hostages.
Just unthinkable. And the violence on the train is calculated for maximum impact, right? With the execution.
Absolutely calculated.
Yeah.
Hostages like Leo Bolter and Bert Bierling weren't just killed. Their bodies were thrown out onto the tracks, left there. It was designed to terrorize the nation through the media.
A horrific spectacle. So how did the Dutch government respond? They must have been unprepared.
Completely unprepared. Their response was largely improvised. They basically decided to play for time, slow everything down, lots of negotiation, but refusing any major demands.
So they were gambling.
Pretty much. Gambling that the stress, the cold, it was sub-zero weather on that train, would wear down the hijackers' resolve before the government's own political position cracked under the pressure.
And remarkably, that strategy worked, in a sense. Both sieges ended without a major military assault like you might see later.
Right. And this ad hoc approach, this emphasis on patience, negotiation first, force only as last resort. It actually became formalized. It became the official Dutch approach to counterterrorism moving forward.
So a long-term policy born directly out of this specific terrible crisis.
Based on an improvised response, yeah.
Okay, so wrapping this up. The attacks didn't achieve the independent RMS state the hijackers demanded. But they definitely forced a kind of national reckoning in the Netherlands, didn't they? About colonialism, loyalty, betrayal.
They absolutely did. It brought those unresolved legacies right to the surface. But here's something to think about, maybe a final thought for you. The fact that the 75 sieges ended without military force, without the Dutch state giving in to the core demands, well, for the more radical Moluccan elements, this wasn't seen as a success. It was seen as a failure. And that perception of failure, that frustration, it directly fueled even more radicalization. It basically set the stage for the next wave of attacks in 1977, the DuPont train hijacking, the Bovensmild school seizure, which were even deadlier. It shows how sometimes, an attack that doesn't achieve its aims can paradoxically lead to a more desperate, more spectacular escalation later on.